All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, no Jets practice today, but pads do come on tomorrow. So, it'll be interesting to see how the energy kind of ramps up as training camp progresses. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. But in this one, I really wanted to take a second to really highlight some of the standouts at Jets camp so far. Granted, it's been a week. There hasn't been pads. There's now full contact is not even happening. So, there's only so much that we can take away. But with that said, positive news is better than no news. We're slowly but surely getting some of our training camp questions answered. So I wanted to focus in on 6 players, and I don't want to spend too much time on the first 2 because we know who they are. Aaron Rodgers, according to whether it's fans watching, coaches in their post-practice pressers, teammates, reporters, whether they're Jet beat reporters or not, Aaron Rodgers has looked absolutely fantastic. It's looked different compared to years past, right? Supposedly, this offense looks great. Now, of course, it's not all perfect, and factoring in it is, again, just the first week of camp here. But based off of what everybody has seen this week, the offense is where it needs to be. Things are looking up. They're showing signs of life. I don't know if it's just having Rodgers or if it's having Rodgers with the experience of Nathaniel Hackett being in-house, working with a, pretty much a similar system that was happening in Green Bay. And of course, factoring in other Packers players like Alan Lazard and Billy Turner, it does seem like there's that heavy Green Bay Packer influence here. But of course, it is Rodgers here, and everybody was expecting, the offense to look better as opposed to, what the Jets have been dealing with in previous seasons. So Rodgers has been doing great. He's been a standout at camp. Absolutely fantastic news. The second player here is Garrett Wilson, right? Another guy that everybody's expecting, whether you're a Jet fan or not, everybody's expecting Wilson to take another step forward. We take a look at the resume. Going back to college, a productive college career, first round pick, top 10 pick, arguably the number 1 wide receiver in the class. I know he was the second wide receiver taken off the board behind Drake London, obviously with the Falcons at, I believe, spot number 8. But in any case, Garrett Wilson has been that guy since the beginning. He hits the NFL, rocky quarterback play, multiple quarterbacks here, tons of injuries all over, and he's expected to become the team's number 1 wide receiver in year 1. And he not only just racks up over 1,100 receiving yards, but he also wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. A lot of physical traits on display, the vert, the route running ability with the football in his hands to make plays. So much to like about Wilson. And so far, him and Rodgers have been, they've been hitting it off, right? They've been doing a great job so far in practice. Again, everybody is expecting this, though, from Garrett in year 2. Here's where things get really interesting. The third player that has been a standout at camp, Jermaine Johnson. According to Zach Rosenblatt, he's bigger, stronger, and faster. He's winning a lot of matchups. Supposedly, all of the tackles are having a really tough time blocking him one-on-one. And if we think back, Jermaine Johnson was, of course, he was a first-round pick, but Joe Douglas traded back up into the first round to go get him. I believe Douglas said that Johnson was ranked within his top 10. And if we think back to, all the mock drafts, Jermaine Johnson was top 10, top 15. So when you talk about upside, when you talk about having the organization behind you, overall talent level, college resume, going from Georgia over to Florida State and really doing a lot for that program. He was one of the leaders for that Seminoles defense, just getting after the passer, really seemed like he blossomed as a college player with the Noles as opposed to Georgia, but was definitely overshadowed last season by Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, the 2 rookies of the year here. And it's definitely hard to stand out in a draft class like that for sure. But Johnson, to me, was one of those picks where it's like, okay, he might not make the biggest impact immediately right off the bat in year 1. It's not like we selected, Nick Bosa at the top of, in the top 2, top 3. But in a year or 2, Johnson could be a huge threat off the edge. And so, again, a week into training camp here, that's apparently what we're seeing, giving multiple tackles a hard time, hard to be blocked, hard to be stopped. Second year in the Robert Saleh system as well. There's talent around him. He isn't just the only edge rusher, on the roster. So he's not, when thinking about going up against other teams, they're thinking about stopping Q on the inside. They're trying to figure out how to stop Carl Lawson coming off the other side. right? What's going on with Quentin Jefferson, a pass rushing defensive tackle on the interior? Will McDonald, another first round pick. There's a lot of bodies here. Not only is Jermaine Johnson, again, according to Rosenblatt here, physically bigger, stronger, faster. First round pick has the high upside. Second year in the system, a lot of depth, a lot of talent around him. He's going to have numerous opportunities to make plays. Personally, I'm hoping that Jermaine Johnson wins the starting edge spot outside or opposite of Lawson, because I just love the upside, right? I'm thinking about him in his starting role throughout the course of an entire NFL season. We could see those numbers skyrocket. I don't think that's an over-exaggeration. I really don't. Okay, so next up is wide receiver Jason Brownlee, undrafted free agent from Southern Miss. And this was somebody that the second they signed with the Jets, there were reporters from Southern Miss talking it up. There were fans of Southern Miss talking it up. I remember getting messages, and in fact, one of my buddies really likes the program. He actually covers the team, and he hit me up that night and said, Jason Brownlee just signed an undrafted free agent deal with the New York Jets. Watch out, because he is a really good player. And lo and behold, he's making plays every single day at Jets training camp. Physically, he's there. He's a go up and get it type of player, 6'3", 6'4" type of receiver. He's working, it was reported that he's working, there's a lot of one-on-one time with him and Rodgers. Apparently Aaron's feeding him a lot of advice, a lot of information. People are talking about the work ethic as well. And one more thing that we have to factor in, the Jets traded Denzel Mims so early. Right, I know it seems like it's far along in the process because, Denzel Mims requested the trade last season. He just hasn't really received a lot of playing time. But if we think about it, right, in the grand scheme of things, he was traded a week before everybody kicks off for training camp. So you're telling me Denzel Mims, with the understanding that Brownlee has been impressing in camp so far, whether it be this week or in the pre-mini camp and rookie mini camp, all those types of things, Brownlee has made that much of an impression to where the Jets are trading away Denzel Mims to the Lions before their training camp even kicks off. I think that definitely. So essentially, the Jets aren't even really giving Mims an opportunity to watch him in camp working in the Hackett offense. They're not giving him opportunities in preseason to go out there and make plays because, objectively speaking, Mims still has an upside. Whether you like him or you don't, he still has some likable traits. He's not. People don't look at Denzel Mims as a guy who's going to be out of the league this year, right? We heard it the day the news came out where the Jets said that they were either going to trade him or release him if they couldn't find a partner. There were multiple teams calling the Jets, multiple teams inquiring, and then I felt like it was either it was that night or the day after that he gets traded to the Detroit Lions. I mean, there's obvious interest there. So for the Jets to be in that position where it's like, hey, we're not even a week into training camp, and we're kicking it off a week early, we feel this good about the wide receiving room that we are totally fine moving a young player in Denzel Mims who's on a cheap contract. It's not like the Jets are trying to save, a quick 10 mil or something like that. I do think there is a direct correlation to Brownlee here. So I'm excited and I'm pulling for him. Next up, safety, free safety, Tony Adams. This is someone who actually got a lot of playing experience last season, appeared in 11 games, started in 1 as an undrafted rookie. And of course, he only did have 17 overall tackles, 17 combined tackles. But when you listen to Robert Saleh and Ulbrich talk about Adams, how he looks in practice and whatnot, they love him. They rave about him. Right, Tony Adams seems like a hard-nosed player. His athletic ability has been on display. Supposedly, he's been making plays. Again, according to multiple fans that have gone to a couple practices and reporters. And one trend that I'm kind of picking up on, it really seems like the second year, when we look at the defensive players for Robert Saleh seem to take a step in their second year in the system, right? We just talked about Jermaine Johnson looking a lot better so far, but we could also point to Quinnen Williams last season, right? Second year in the Saleh scheme, pops off, first team All-Pro. We can talk about Sheldon Rankins. First season, average, pretty good. Second year, a lot better. Tony Adams, another situation here where it's a young player, first year, not a ton on display, but the second year, right, as we're inching into like the heat of training camp, it seems like Tony Adams is much further along than where he was a year ago. The development is on pace. So if Adams can be that guy, that third safety, I've seen some people talk about him potentially as a starting free safety, which would be awesome. Hey, if he wins the job, he wins the job. But regardless, whether he is the starting free safety or whether he's the third backup guy behind Whitehead and Amos, the Jets are in a good spot. Why? Because we have a young, relatively cheap player here that's growing, that's developing, that is understanding the system, showing off the physical ability, making plays in training camp, and has the backing of the organization. Right? Saleh, Ulbrich, they wouldn't keep him around if there was just no hope. So with Adams, with the safety position, it seems like there's a lot to like. And last but not least, linebacker Jamien Sherwood. Okay, now apparently, according to Rosenblatt here, it's his job to lose. And if we start connecting the dots, right, first, him making plays in training camp, making an impact. Second, he's healthy. Third, it's his third year in the system. Fourth, no Quan Alexander. It doesn't really seem like there's this major push from the Jets organization to bring Quan back. 5, CJ Mosley's comments the other day about him potentially being the defense's breakout player, right? Not who's the up and coming linebacker. It was who's going to be the breakout player on the defense side of the football. You're looking at all these different things going in Sherwood's favor here. I mean, he could be the starter if he continues to make plays, if he stays healthy, if he keeps this up. Of course, when pads come on and throw up these preseason matchups. I mean, if he stays healthy and everything is on track based off of what we're seeing and what we're hearing so far. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.